If you don't train your mind from the inside, the world will train it for you, and the world will never train you to be calm. It will never train you to be focused. It will never train you to be strong. The world trains you to react. The world trains you to doubt. The world trains you to run from your own potential. Most people don't even notice when their minds start slipping away from them. They wake up with a spark of motivation, but the moment they pick up their phone, the spark is gone. One notification pulls them into stress. One message ruins their morning. One negative thought sends them into a spiral they never planned to enter. And before they even leave the house, their mind has already lost the day. But here's the part nobody tells you. Mental weakness doesn't start with big failures. It starts with small surrender. It starts with choosing distraction over discipline. It starts with letting emotions speak louder than truth. It starts with allowing the world to define who you are before you decide who you choose to be. And the longer you live this way, the more powerless you feel. Not because you lack potential, but because you never learned how to command your mind. A strong mind isn't a personality trait. A strong mind is a trained mind. You train it the same way you train your body, through repetition, through intention, through simple but powerful habits repeated day after day. You train it when you choose clarity over chaos, when you choose discipline over impulse, when you choose to lead your emotions instead of being led by them. And the moment you begin that process, your entire life begins to shift. This audiobook is not about hype. It is not about quick motivation. It is not about handing you feel-good quotes that disappear the moment life gets hard. This is mental training, real training, the kind that strips away the noise and teaches you how to stay steady in moments where most people collapse. The kind that gives you structure when emotions try to take over. The kind that builds a level of clarity inside you that pressure cannot break. Because mental strength is not built by talking about it. Mental strength is built by practicing it. Over the next 90 minutes, you will learn how to build a mind that does not shake in the presence of difficulty. You will learn how to own the first hour of your day so the world doesn't steal it from you. You will learn how to protect your focus so your energy isn't scattered across 100 different places. You will learn how discomfort becomes the weight that shapes your inner muscles. You will learn how your words either construct or destroy your identity. You will learn how finishing what you start repairs the self-respect you didn't realize you were losing. You will learn how to reset quickly after failure so setbacks don't become your story. You will learn how calm becomes your greatest power when pressure rises. You will learn how to replace weak habits with stronger standards. You will learn how to win in private before you ever win in public. And you will learn why repetition, not motivation, is the real foundation of a powerful mind. Every chapter in this training follows the same rhythm. Pain, principle, picture, practice, reflection, and a punchline that stays with you. You will confront a real human struggle. You will learn the core rule that turns that struggle into strength. You will visualize the difference between weakness and power. You will be given practices that reshape your daily behavior. You will be asked questions that reveal who you truly are, and you will end each chapter with a statement that becomes a standard for how you think and act from this moment forward. This training is not about forcing yourself to be emotionless. It's about learning how to respond with wisdom instead of reaction. A strong mind doesn't silence emotions. A strong mind understands them, faces them, and directs them. A strong mind doesn't panic when something goes wrong. A strong mind pauses. A strong mind breathes. A strong mind leads. And that is exactly what you will learn here. How to lead yourself when fear tries to take control. How to ground yourself when life tries to shake you, and how to stay aligned with your standards when everything else tries to pull you off track. Chapter 1. Master your mornings. Most people lose the day before it even begins. They open their eyes, grab their phone, and let the world rush in before their mind has taken its first breath. One notification pulls them into someone else's agenda. One message steals their attention. One piece of news shifts their mood. And in less than 60 seconds, they've surrendered the strongest part of themselves without realizing it. Your morning is your first battle, and most people lose it quietly. What happens in the first hour of your day decides the strength of your mind for the next 23. If you begin your day in chaos, your thoughts scatter. If you begin in silence, your thoughts align. If you begin in reaction, you spend the rest of the day trying to catch up. But if you begin with intention, you lead the day instead of being dragged by it. Winning your morning is not about being perfect, it's about being deliberate. A powerful morning doesn't require a miracle routine. It doesn't require waking up at 4 in the morning or following a long list of complicated habits. It requires ownership. It requires clarity. It requires a single moment when you choose to lead your mind before allowing anything else to influence it. The truth is simple. If you win your first hour, you win your day. Because the first hour is the only time when the world hasn't touched you yet. No one has demanded your attention. No one has asked for your energy. No one has tried to shape your mindset. That hour belongs entirely to you. And who you become in that hour determines the version of yourself you bring into the world. When you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, you hand your mind to the outside world. You allow other people's thoughts to override your own. You let someone else's drama, urgency, or negativity set your emotional tone. And once that tone is set, it's incredibly difficult to undo. But when you wake up slowly, intentionally, consciously, something shifts. Your mind has space to breathe, your thoughts have space to settle, your emotions have space to align, and you begin your day not as a reactor, but as a leader. Your morning is your mental foundation, and a weak foundation creates a shaky life. Imagine building a house. You don't start with the roof. You don't decorate the walls before the concrete sets. You don't rush the structure because everything rests on it. Your life is no different. Your morning is the concrete, the structure that determines your stability. When you build it with intention, the rest of your day becomes easier to navigate, even when pressure rises. Many people believe they're stressed because their job is demanding, because their relationships are complicated, or because life keeps throwing unpredictable challenges at them. Those things matter, but the deeper truth is this. Most people are overwhelmed not because life is too hard, but because their mornings are too weak. A weak morning drains you before the day begins. A strong morning fuels you long before life tests you. Strength isn't something you magically find in the middle of chaos. It's something you build long before chaos arrives. When you give yourself a strong start, you carry that strength into every conversation, every decision, every obstacle, and every moment that tries to shake you. You walk differently, you think differently, you respond differently. You show up centered and grounded because you prepared your mind before life had the chance to pull it apart. The first rule of mastering your morning is simple. Do not let the world enter before you do. You enter your mind by breathing, by becoming aware of your body, by noticing your thoughts without letting them control you, by giving yourself a few quiet moments to step into the day with clarity instead of chaos. Picture two different mornings. One person wakes up, grabs their phone immediately, scrolls through social media, checks email, sees something stressful, compares themselves to others, and then tries to start the day already mentally drained. They haven't even stood up yet, and their mind is cluttered with noise and negativity. The other person wakes up, sits up slowly, takes 5 controlled breaths, grounds their feet on the floor, rolls their shoulders back, and gives themselves a full minute to exist before letting anything else in. They open a notebook and write down the 3 most important tasks of the day. Not 10, not 20, just 3. Their mind becomes clear, their purpose sharpens, their energy aligns, and they step into the day with intention. These two people will live completely different lives, not because one is smarter, luckier, or more talented, but because one chooses to lead their mind while the other allows everything else to lead it. Your morning shapes your identity. When you choose discipline early in the day, you tell yourself, I lead, I decide, I choose my direction. And your mind obeys. It begins to trust your leadership. It begins to follow your intention. It begins to grow stronger simply because you are showing it consistency. Chapter 2. Protect your focus. Most people don't lose their potential because they lack talent. They lose it because they cannot hold their focus long enough to let their talent work. Focus is the most valuable currency of the mind, and yet it's the currency people give away the fastest. They give it to notifications, they give it to distractions, they give it to impulses, they give it away to anything loud enough to steal their attention. You don't rise because you work harder than everyone. You rise because you focus deeper than everyone. Focus is not something you find by accident. Focus is something you must defend. Focus is something you must guard as if your future depends on it, because it does. Every goal, every transformation, every new identity begins with your ability to hold your attention on what matters and ignore what doesn't. The world is loud, and if you don't protect your focus, the world will gladly take it from you. Think about how easily your mind is pulled away. A single buzz from your phone and your thoughts shift. A single pop-up and your direction changes. A single moment of boredom and you reach for distraction. Your focus, the very thing that creates your future, is handed away for almost nothing. A scattered mind cannot build a strong life. A distracted mind cannot build deep work. A reactive mind cannot build a powerful identity. Most people don't realize how much they are actually losing. They think losing focus only costs a few minutes. It doesn't. Losing focus costs momentum. It costs clarity. It costs confidence. It costs the chance to reach levels of mastery that only come from long, uninterrupted concentration. When your mind is constantly being pulled apart, your life follows the same pattern. Your ability to focus is your ability to build. Your ability to protect your focus is your ability to rise. The people who create extraordinary lives are not always the smartest. They are the ones who can lock in, stay in, and remain in deep work long enough for their effort to compound. Here is the truth. Focus is not a feeling. Focus is a choice. It is not something you wait for. It is something you create through how you structure your environment, your time, and your mental boundaries. Focus grows in silence. It grows in intention. It grows when you remove everything that steals your attention and replace it with one clear priority. Imagine trying to pour water into a bottle with 10 holes. No matter how fast you pour, nothing fills. That is how most people live. They pour their energy into the day with good intentions, but their focus leaks through dozens of open channels. They wonder why they feel drained. They wonder why nothing gets finished. They wonder why life feels chaotic. The reason is simple. They never close the leaks. Protecting your focus starts with eliminating what drains it, not reducing it, eliminating it. When you remove the noise, your mind becomes quieter. When your mind becomes quieter, your attention becomes sharper. When your attention sharpens, your work deepens. And when your work deepens, your identity shifts. You become someone who follows through, someone who completes, someone who doesn't get pulled away by every distraction that enters the environment. You cannot build a powerful mind in a weak environment. Your environment must support your focus, not destroy it. Look at your day. Look at your desk, your phone, your notifications, the people you allow access to your attention. Ask yourself one honest question. Is this strengthening my focus or weakening it? Your future depends on how truthfully you answer. Most people live in a world designed to break their focus. Their phone is always within reach, notifications stay on, their workspace is cluttered, their priorities are unclear, their mental boundaries don't exist, and then they wonder why they can't concentrate. It's not a mystery, it's a design flaw. Focus isn't luck, focus is design. Design your environment so distraction becomes difficult and concentration becomes effortless. Put your phone out of reach. Turn off notifications that add nothing to your life. Clear your desk until only what matters remains. Separate the spaces where you work from the spaces where you rest. When you create a focused environment, your mind naturally follows. But protecting your focus isn't only external, it's internal. You must train your mind to stay in one place long enough to build momentum. You must train it to resist the urge to check, switch, and escape whenever discomfort appears. Mental discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you've entered the zone where growth happens. Your mind tries to escape deep work not because it's weak, but because it's untrained. Every time you pull your attention back, you strengthen your mental muscles. Every time you resist checking your phone, you reinforce discipline. Every time you stay with the task a little longer, you shape a mind that doesn't break under pressure. The more you practice holding your attention, the more powerful you become. Chapter 3. Build strength through discomfort. Most people want a stronger mind, but they avoid the very thing that builds it. Discomfort. They want confidence without facing fear, discipline without resisting temptation, growth without pressure, strength without struggle. But the truth is timeless. You cannot become strong while staying comfortable. Discomfort is not your enemy. Discomfort is your teacher. Every breakthrough you've ever experienced came from a moment that pushed you beyond comfort. Every transformation began with a decision to do something unfamiliar, uncertain, or difficult. Growth always hides behind resistance. The people who rise are not the ones who avoid discomfort. They are the ones who move toward it. A comfortable life does not make you safe. It makes you soft. Soft minds break under pressure. Soft minds collapse when life becomes unpredictable. Soft minds panic when things don't go their way. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you reinforce weakness instead of strength. But strength is not something you're born with. Strength is something you build. You build it the same way you build muscle. Through manageable, consistent doses of challenge. Not extreme challenges, not overwhelming ones. Small, deliberate steps into discomfort that expand your capacity over time. Discomfort is the gym of the mind. Every moment of resistance is a weight you can lift. When you lift physical weights, the goal isn't destruction. The goal is controlled stress that forces adaptation. The same thing happens in your mind. When you face fear, resist distraction, and follow through on difficult tasks, you stretch your mental fibers. You trigger growth. You build power. When you avoid discomfort, your mind weakens. Small fears grow larger. Small stresses become overwhelming. Small tasks start to feel impossible. Avoidance doesn't protect you, it weakens you. And the longer you avoid what feels uncomfortable, the more control discomfort gains over you. Your mind obeys what you repeatedly choose. If you choose comfort, your mind becomes fragile. If you choose challenge, your mind becomes strong. There is a version of you that no longer runs from hard things, a version of you that doesn't hesitate when discomfort appears, a version of you that moves toward challenge with calm, steady confidence. That version already exists, but it is built through consistent exposure to difficulty. So ask yourself this: why does discomfort feel so threatening? It feels threatening because your mind is wired for physical safety. The same instinct that keeps you alive also keeps you trapped in familiarity. but modern discomfort is rarely dangerous. A difficult phone call won't kill you. Speaking the truth won't kill you. Exercising when you don't feel like it won't kill you. Pursuing a dream won't kill you. Your mind is protecting you from things that cannot harm you, and that protection is holding you back. Once you understand this, discomfort becomes less intimidating. You start to see it as a doorway, a signal that you're entering territory that will expand you, a sign that you're stepping into a stronger identity. Discomfort is not punishment. Discomfort is opportunity. Think about every person you admire, every leader, creator, and builder of something meaningful. None of them lived comfortable lives. None of them avoided difficulty. Their strength was built through moments where they leaned forward instead of stepping back. The most practical way to build mental strength is simple. Choose one small discomfort every day. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't need to be extreme. It just needs to challenge you slightly more than yesterday. Wake up earlier than you want. Work out when you feel lazy. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Do the task you keep delaying. Tell the truth when lying feels easier. Sit in silence instead of reaching for your phone. These moments retrain your mind. They stop the habit of retreat. They increase your capacity for pressure. Every moment of discomfort is a rep, and every rep builds strength. But the most important rule is this: don't negotiate with yourself. The enemy of mental strength is self-negotiation. It's the voice that says, do it later, do it tomorrow, do it when you feel ready. That voice doesn't protect your future, it protects your comfort. Chapter 4. Command your words. Most people underestimate the power of language. They speak without thinking, promise without intention, react without awareness, and release emotions they never meant to express. Over time, something damaging happens. They stop trusting themselves, not because life betrayed them, but because their own words did. Your words shape your identity. Your words create direction. Your words reveal discipline. Every sentence you speak sends a message to your mind about who you are. When you say you will do something and follow through, your identity strengthens. When you speak impulsively, make empty promises, or fail to honor your words, your identity weakens. Your mind stops believing you. And once your mind stops believing your words, real strength becomes impossible to build. You cannot build a strong mind on weak language. Words are not just sounds. Words are agreements. Agreements with yourself, your values, and your future. When you break those agreements, you damage self-respect. And nothing destroys mental strength faster than losing respect for yourself. This is why learning to command your words is a critical mental skill. It's not about speaking less or becoming harsh. It's about speaking with intention, meaning what you say. Aligning your words with your actions so your identity remains solid instead of fragmented. Strong people do not speak recklessly, they speak deliberately. Their words are precise, their promises are few but solid. Their language is controlled, intentional, and purposeful. They don't speak to impress, they speak to align. They speak to declare who they are and what they stand for. Your words are a mirror. They reveal your internal truth. If your words are scattered, your mind is scattered. If your words are careless, your discipline becomes careless. If your words are soft and uncertain, your actions follow the same pattern. But when your language becomes firm, clear, steady, and intentional, your thoughts begin to align. Your decisions strengthen and your identity solidifies. There is a simple rule that separates strong minds from weak ones. Say what you mean what you say. When your words and your actions match, you rise. When they don't, you stay stuck in the same cycles, repeating patterns that quietly sabotage your growth. Most people don't realize that inconsistency in speech leads directly to inconsistency in behavior. They assume words are harmless. They assume promises don't matter. They assume no one notices, but someone always does. You do. Breaking your word is breaking your self-image, and nothing is harder to rebuild than a fractured identity. Think about how often people make casual promises. I'll start tomorrow. I'll wake up early. I'll eat better. I'll stop wasting time. They say these things without real intention to follow through. They speak to feel relief in the moment, not to build a future. And every time the promise is broken, the mind learns a lesson. I can't trust myself. A mind that cannot trust itself cannot be strong. Strength comes from internal alignment. Discipline comes from internal honesty. Confidence comes from keeping your word, not to others, but to yourself. External respect means nothing if internal respect is missing. So ask yourself honestly, do you keep your own word? Do you do what you say you will do? Do you follow through when no one is watching? Do you speak with intention or with impulse? Do your words protect your identity or weaken it? Answer truthfully, because your future depends on that honesty. Most people struggle with their words not because they are dishonest, but because they are careless. They speak too fast. They promise too freely. They react emotionally. They say yes when they mean no. They speak to avoid discomfort instead of honoring their values. And with every careless word, they drift further away from the disciplined version of themselves. Commanding your words begins with slowing down, not slowing down your life, slowing down your mouth. A powerful person does not rush to speak. A powerful person pauses. They think, they feel, they observe, they choose, and then they speak with clarity. Their words become a tool, not a liability. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. When you pause before speaking, you give yourself space to respond instead of react. You choose intention over emotion. You speak truth instead of temporary feeling. And that pause becomes the birthplace of discipline. Another part of commanding your words is learning to speak less but mean more. Many people speak excessively because they are uncomfortable with silence. They fill space with noise to avoid feeling exposed. But the strongest individuals understand that silence is not empty. Silence is powerful. It allows your words to carry weight when you finally choose to use them. Your language gains value when you stop wasting it. Then comes integrity. Keeping your word is the fastest way to build internal strength. Even small promises matter. When you tell yourself you will wake up at a certain time and you do, your identity strengthens. When you say you will finish a task and you finish it, your identity strengthens. When you say you will show up and you show up, your identity strengthens. Identity is built from kept promises. Weak identity is built from broken ones. Every time your actions match your words, your self-trust grows. And self-trust is the core of mental strength. When you trust yourself, you don't need motivation, approval, or permission. You act because you know who you are. Your identity is not negotiable. Chapter 5. Finish what you start. Most people are not defeated by failure. They are defeated by unfinished beginnings. They start with excitement, quit when it becomes difficult, and carry the weight of abandoned projects everywhere they go. The burden of unfinished work is heavier than the burden of hard work. Starting is easy. Finishing is rare. And that is why finishing is powerful. Every unfinished task, every abandoned plan, every project left hanging creates a small fracture in your identity. You may not notice it immediately, but your mind does. It remembers the promises you didn't keep. It stores the evidence of hesitation. Over time, those fractures accumulate until confidence begins to collapse. A strong mind is not built by starting. A strong mind is built by finishing. Finishing is a skill. It is discipline. It is a mindset. It is a commitment to follow through even when excitement fades, when motivation disappears, when the process becomes uncomfortable. When you finish something, you tell your mind, I am someone who completes. I am someone who follows through. I do what I say. Identity grows every time you finish. Identity shrinks every time you quit. Most people quit not because the task is impossible, but because discomfort becomes louder than the goal. They stop when the work gets boring, when results slow down, when fear of imperfection rises. They tell themselves they'll come back later, but later rarely comes. The world is full of people who almost finished. Half-written books, half-learned skills, half-kept promises, half-lived potential. Your life cannot change if you only go halfway. Momentum comes from completion. Confidence comes from completion. Discipline comes from completion. Every time you close a loop, your mind becomes sharper. Every time you complete something you once avoided, your mind becomes stronger. When you finish what you start, you build a quiet kind of self-respect that no one can take away. Unfinished work drains you. Finished work energizes you. Think about the invisible weight you carry, the tasks you keep postponing, the ideas you think about but never execute, the responsibilities you promise to handle soon. These things pull on your energy even when you're not thinking about them. They clutter your mental space. Your mind cannot fully focus on the present when it is tied to the past, and unfinished work is the past pulling you backward. If you want clarity, finish. If you want confidence, finish. If you want momentum, finish. If you want a stronger mind, finish. A person who finishes even small things becomes dangerous in big things. Finishing does not require perfection. It requires commitment. You don't need flawless execution. You don't need speed. You don't need constant excitement. You need to stay with the task until it reaches completion. Completion builds identity, not perfection. There is a powerful shift that happens when finishing becomes your personal standard. You stop chasing novelty. You stop abandoning things when they get difficult. You stop wasting energy on endless beginnings. Instead, you build depth. You build discipline. You build follow-through. Your mind learns that you are someone who does not quit. And once your mind believes that, your life begins to change. So ask yourself right now, how many things have you started but never finished? Think about the projects you left behind. Think about the commitments you broke. Think about the goals you walked away from too early. Not to shame yourself, but to see the truth clearly. These loose ends are shaping your identity more than you realize. The good news is this: you can rebuild your identity through completion, one finished task at a time, one closed loop at a time, one promise kept at a time. Start small. Choose one unfinished thing, something manageable, something real, something you've avoided for too long. Finish it, not perfectly, just finish it. And when you do, notice what changes inside you. Notice the lift. Notice the clarity. Notice the shift in how you see yourself. Completion creates internal momentum. Once you finish one thing, you feel the pull to finish another and then another. You break the habit of quitting and replace it with the habit of completing. Your mind begins to crave the satisfaction of finishing instead of the excitement of starting. That subtle psychological shift changes everything. Finishing what you start is not just about productivity, it's about identity. It's about self-leadership. It's about becoming someone you can rely on. A person who finishes becomes powerful. Once you trust yourself to follow through, the world feels less intimidating. Challenges feel manageable. Goals feel reachable. Discipline becomes natural. You no longer fear long-term commitments because you know you can carry them to the end. Finishing gives you an internal foundation that nothing and no one can shake. Chapter 6. Reset your mindset fast. There are moments when life hits harder than expected. A plan falls apart. A mistake snowballs. A comment cuts deeper than it should. A single setback can flip your emotional state in seconds and drag your confidence down with it. When your mindset collapses, everything else follows. The mind is powerful, but when unchecked, it is also fragile. When something goes wrong, the natural reaction is to internalize it. You start telling yourself stories that exaggerate the problem, distort reality, and turn a small setback into an identity crisis. What was just a mistake becomes, "I always mess things up." What was just a delay becomes, "Nothing ever works for me." A single moment becomes your entire narrative. A broken moment is not a broken identity, but your mind will try to convince you otherwise if you don't reset quickly. That is why the ability to reset your mindset fast is one of the most important mental skills you can build. You cannot prevent every setback, but you can stop a setback from turning into a downward spiral. You can interrupt the story your mind tries to write about you. When your mindset slips, your first job is not to fix the situation. Your first job is to fix your state. A chaotic mind cannot solve problems. A stressed mind cannot think clearly. A panicked mind cannot choose correctly. Before you take action, you must regain inner stability. You do that by creating space between what happened and what you think it means. A strong mind does not avoid pressure. A strong mind resets under pressure. The reset begins with a simple truth. Your thoughts immediately after a setback are the least trustworthy thoughts you will have. In those moments, your mind is emotional, biased, reactive, and overwhelmed. You are not thinking, you are spiraling, and spiraling is not clarity. The first step is to pause, not for an hour, not for a day, just long enough to interrupt the emotional pattern. Pause long enough to stop the momentum of panic. Pause long enough to make one conscious decision instead of 10 unconscious reactions. A single breath can change your direction. That pause creates the space needed to reset. The reset itself is guided by 3 questions that bring your mind back into alignment. What can I control? What can I learn? What is the next small step? These questions pull you out of emotional fog and return you to clarity. They move you from helplessness to responsibility, from confusion to direction, from collapse to composure. What can I control? This question stops overthinking. It pulls your attention away from fear and toward action. It reminds you that your power is not in worrying about what you can't control, but in directing energy toward what is still in your hands. What can I learn? This question transforms failure into insight. It stops self-attack and allows honest evaluation without shame. Growth requires mistakes, but only if you learn from them. What is the next small step? This question breaks paralysis. It prevents you from trying to fix everything at once. It anchors you to one clear action that rebuilds momentum and restores confidence. Clarity begins with one step, not a perfect plan. When you ask these questions, you move from emotion to intention. You begin leading your mind instead of being led by it. And once you regain leadership, you reclaim the strength you momentarily lost. But the reset is not only mental, it is physical. Your body carries your mindset. When you are overwhelmed, your breath shortens, your posture collapses, your energy tightens, and your mind follows your body's signal. This is why resetting your physical state is one of the fastest ways to reset your mindset. Stand up, roll your shoulders back, take slow, controlled breaths. Feel your feet on the ground, reclaim your space. Your body can shift your mind faster than your thoughts ever could. Resetting your mindset also requires controlling your language. The words you use after a setback become the blueprint your mind follows. If your language turns catastrophic, your emotions will follow that story. This always happens. I can't do anything right. Everything is falling apart. Your actions then mirror those emotions. Language is the steering wheel of your mind. Change your language to something grounded, neutral, and clear. Not delusional. Not overly positive, just honest. This is difficult, but I can handle it. This isn't ideal, but it's not the end. I've faced worse than this. Let me take the next step. Your words can either destabilize you or steady you. Chapter 7. Stay calm under pressure. Pressure reveals who you really are. When everything is going well, anyone can appear confident, composed, and disciplined. But when situations tighten, when emotions rise, when expectations collide with reality, that is where true mental strength shows itself. Under pressure, your inner state becomes visible. Every untrained part of your mind rises to the surface. Calm is not the default. Calm is the result of training. Pressure does not create your weaknesses. It exposes them. It brings your fears forward and magnifies your insecurities. It highlights the areas that still need growth. This is not a bad thing. Pressure is an invitation to grow, sharpen, strengthen, and evolve. Calmness is power because calmness gives you access to clarity. When your mind is calm, you can see the situation as it is. When your mind is calm, you evaluate instead of react. You respond with intention instead of emotion. You choose direction instead of being pulled by panic. When your mind is chaotic, everything becomes distorted. Problems seem larger than they are. Solutions feel further away than they are. Your ability to think becomes compromised. Pressure does not break you. Confusion under pressure does. The first step to staying calm is understanding what pressure actually is. Pressure is not danger. Pressure is expectation. Pressure is attention. Pressure is a moment that demands your full presence. It is not there to destroy you. It is there to reveal the kind of person you have trained yourself to be. You stay calm by preparing before pressure arrives, not during it. A storm is not the time to build a roof. The moment you feel overwhelmed is not the moment to begin training emotional control. Calm is a habit built long before you need it. Every chapter before this has been preparing you for this moment. Morning discipline, protecting your focus, doing hard things, the power of your words, the ability to reset. All of it is training for pressure. Staying calm under pressure is not accidental. It is a practiced identity. And that identity is built on one fundamental idea: slow is smooth, smooth is fast. This means your first response in high-pressure moments is not impulsive action, but slowing your inner world. The slower your mind moves, the clearer your decisions become. Clarity is not found in speed. It is found in stillness. You regain control through your breath because the breath controls the mind. When pressure rises, breathing becomes shallow. The chest tightens. The body shifts into survival mode. Survival mode shuts down clear thinking. That is why the fastest path back to calm runs through the breath. Slow, controlled breathing brings the nervous system back into balance. It tells the mind that you are not in danger. It grounds you. One long breath can prevent a long regret. People make their worst decisions when they are emotionally overwhelmed. They say things they don't mean. They take actions they cannot undo. They react from fear instead of strength. When the moment passes, they are left dealing with consequences created by a version of themselves that was not thinking. Calmness protects you from self-destruction. Staying calm under pressure also requires separating emotion from identity. Feeling overwhelmed does not mean you are weak. Feeling fear does not mean you are incapable. Feeling stressed does not mean you are breaking. Emotions are signals, not definitions. They describe what your body is experiencing, not who you are. You can feel pressure without becoming pressure. Your mind becomes calm when you allow emotions to exist without letting them lead. Let them surface. Let them pass through, but do not hand them the steering wheel. Pressure wants you to panic. It wants you to rush. It wants you to abandon the standards you've built. Your job is to refuse. Refuse to be rushed. Refuse to react impulsively. Refuse to be controlled by emotions that will not exist tomorrow. Calmness is the ability to stay rooted while everything around you shakes. It is the ability to hold your center when life tries to pull you off balance. It is the ability to observe chaos without becoming chaotic yourself. This skill is built in small moments. Calmness during major events is created through calmness during minor ones. When someone speaks to you disrespectfully, pause. When a situation becomes tense, breathe. When your day feels overwhelming, slow your thoughts. These moments train the emotional muscle you rely on when pressure is real. You become calm under pressure by choosing calm when pressure is small. There will always be voices in your head pushing you toward panic. The voice of fear, the voice of doubt, the voice of insecurity. These voices get louder under pressure, but they do not get wiser. They are reacting, not guiding. Calmness becomes the counter-leader to those voices. Calmness is leadership. Not leadership over others, but leadership over yourself. Leadership over your mind, your emotions, your reactions, your decisions. When you stay calm, you choose to lead yourself instead of being led by stress. There is another truth to remember. Pressure is a privilege. Pressure appears only in moments that matter. It shows up when you are attempting something meaningful. Pressure is a sign that you are stretching your abilities, not failing them. Chapter 8. Replace old habits with strong standards. What you repeatedly do shapes who you become, not your intentions, not your dreams, not the goals you write down once a year. Your habits, your daily actions carve your identity one small decision at a time. The habits you choose today determine the strength of your mind tomorrow. Habits are the architecture of your life. Standards are the architecture of your character. Changing habits is difficult not because you are weak, but because your brain has spent years wiring certain behaviors into automatic patterns. The mind loves repetition. It loves familiarity. It loves predictability. Even destructive habits feel comfortable simply because they are known. You do not break habits through force. You break them through replacement. The mind dislikes empty space. When you try to remove a bad habit without replacing it, the discomfort pulls you back to the old behavior. A habit cannot simply be erased. It must be overwritten. Old habits do not disappear. They get crowded out by stronger standards. A standard is a rule you accept for your life, a rule that is non-negotiable. Standards are not goals. Goals live in the future. Standards exist now. Goals depend on what you want. Standards depend on who you choose to be. When standards rise, habits follow. Bad habits fade not because you fight them, but because you outgrow them. Think of habits like paths in a forest. The more you walk a path, the clearer it becomes. Old habits are well-worn paths, easy and automatic. When you begin walking a new path, the old one weakens. Grass grows over it. The trail fades. It stops being your default. You replace habits by walking the new path long enough for the old one to disappear. This process starts with honesty, not emotional honesty, but behavioral honesty. Ask yourself which habit is weakening you. Be direct. Maybe it's scrolling late at night. Maybe procrastination. Maybe avoiding discomfort. Maybe overeating. Maybe wasting time on conversations that don't matter. Maybe checking your phone whenever boredom appears. Weak habits steal your future in small pieces. Strong habits build it the same way. Once you identify the habit holding you back, do not attack it directly. That rarely works. Instead, ask a better question. What standard would make this habit impossible? If your standard is, I am someone who sleeps before midnight, scrolling until 2 a.m. no longer fits. If your standard is, I honor my mornings, staying up mindlessly loses appeal. If your standard is, I finish what I start, procrastination becomes an identity violation. You cannot keep a weak habit if it violates a strong standard. Standards reshape identity. Identity reshapes behavior. Behavior reshapes life. Most people focus on the habit instead of the identity behind it. You don't stop procrastinating by trying harder. You stop by becoming someone who values discipline over comfort. You don't stop overindulging by resisting temptation. You stop by becoming someone who respects their body and energy. You don't stop wasting hours on your phone by forcing change. You stop by becoming someone who prioritizes clarity and presence. A strong identity makes weak habits irrelevant. Replacing habits also requires understanding triggers. Habits run in loops: cue, action, reward. If you don't understand what triggers your old habit, you will repeat it without realizing it. So start noticing the moments when the habit shows up. Notice the emotions attached to it. Notice the situations that make it harder to resist. Awareness is always the first step to replacement. You cannot change a pattern you refuse to see. Once you understand the loop, you can design a new one. Replace the action with something that aligns with your standards. Reach for a book instead of your phone. Take a short walk instead of numbing yourself. Clean for 5 minutes instead of scrolling. Drink water instead of stress eating. Write your thoughts instead of suppressing them. These actions may feel small, but small actions done consistently change everything. Real change is built through small exchanges, one replacement at a time. Another key to replacing habits is lowering the barrier to the new behavior. If the new habit feels too difficult, your mind will retreat to the old one. Make the new action easier. Make it accessible. Make it simple enough that you can do it even on your worst days. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. Consistency rewires the brain. Consistency builds standards. Consistency turns behavior into identity. Chapter 9. Win when no one is watching. The truest version of you is revealed in private, not the version you show to others, not the one shaped by praise, pressure, or expectations. The real you appears when the room is empty, when no one is checking on you, when no one will ever know what choice you made. Character is built in silence. Strength is built in solitude. When you are alone, the world stops influencing your behavior. There are no eyes to impress, no applause to earn, no judgment to avoid. In that space, your choices become honest reflections of who you truly are. Do you uphold your standards when no one notices? Do you stay disciplined when there is no reward? Do you honor your commitments without external validation? Winning in private is where real transformation happens, because private victories create public confidence. Something shifts when you treat your private life with the same seriousness as your public life. You stop performing discipline and start becoming disciplined. You stop pretending to be strong and start building strength. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on identity. Identity is not who you say you are. Identity is who you are when no one is watching. The world is full of people who look disciplined in public but fall apart in private. Their habits depend on who is around them. Their standards depend on external accountability. Their effort depends on being seen. That kind of discipline is fragile. When the attention disappears, so does the consistency. Private discipline is the only discipline that lasts. To win in private, you must value integrity more than image. Integrity is not perfection, it is alignment. It is doing what you said you would do, not for others, but for yourself. It is respecting your own standards, even when no one else will ever know the difference. If you cannot trust yourself in private, you will never feel strong in public. Private wins don't need to be dramatic. Often the quietest wins matter the most. Waking up when you said you would, even if no one knows. Finishing a habit you committed to, even if no one sees the result. Choosing the harder path when the easier one would go unnoticed. These moments shape you. These moments define you. These moments build the inner confidence that cannot be faked. Confidence is not built from compliments. Confidence is built from consistency. The more you keep your private promises, the stronger and steadier you become. You begin to trust your own word. You begin to rely on your own discipline. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of doing hard things without external pressure. This is how quiet confidence is formed. This is how mental strength becomes natural. Winning in private also means facing the parts of yourself you usually hide. The weaknesses, the fears, the insecurities, the habits you don't want others to see. Growth requires honesty, and honesty often requires privacy. You cannot evolve if you keep avoiding your truth. Solitude reveals the work that still needs to be done. In silence, you notice where you've been lying to yourself. In stillness, you hear the excuses you've been using. In solitude, you clearly see which habits are holding you back. This awareness is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Without it, there is no transformation. Growth begins when you stop running from the mirror. Winning when no one is watching also means being intentional with how you use your alone time. You can waste hours without anyone knowing, or you can use those hours to rise. Every quiet moment is an opportunity to sharpen your mind, deepen your skills, strengthen your discipline, and move closer to the person you are becoming. Private time is not empty. Private time is powerful. Even 5 minutes of private discipline each day compounds into something meaningful over time. 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of journaling, 5 minutes of organizing your space, 5 minutes of training your body, 5 minutes of resisting a bad habit. These small, quiet victories build a foundation stronger than any loud accomplishment ever could. The world judges what you do in public, but your life is shaped by what you do in private. Chapter 10. Repeat the fundamentals. Daily mastery is not built through complexity. Mastery is built through repetition. The fundamentals, the simple, essential actions that strengthen the mind and shape identity, are often overlooked, not because they don't work, but because they work slowly. They don't impress anyone. They don't create instant results. They lack excitement. And yet, they are the foundation of every strong life. The fundamentals are not glamorous, but they are transformative. When you study anyone who has built remarkable discipline, extraordinary resilience, or deep internal strength, the pattern is always the same. They didn't rise because of a single life-changing event. They rose because of daily actions repeated long after motivation faded and long before results appeared. Greatness is not dramatic. Greatness is consistent. Your mind becomes strong through small behaviors repeated thousands of times, not through rare bursts of intensity, not through short-lived motivation, not through occasional effort. Strength accumulates like mountains form, layer by layer, year after year. A strong mind is built on fundamentals, just as a strong body is built on basic exercises. You do them not because they are exciting, but because they are effective. You repeat them not because you feel like it, but because they shape the person you are becoming. Repetition is the mother of identity. Identity is the mother of discipline. What you repeat becomes who you are. Every time you practice a fundamental, you reinforce your standard. Every time you honor your standard, you strengthen your identity. Once your identity is solid, discipline stops being something you force. It becomes something you are. The challenge is not in knowing what the fundamentals are. You already know them. Wake up with intention, protect your focus, move your body, speak with integrity, do the uncomfortable work, finish what you start, reset when you fall, stay calm under pressure, live by strong standards. The fundamentals are not a mystery. The difficulty lies in returning to them every single day. Repetition requires humility. Repetition requires patience. Repetition requires discipline long before it feels natural. The ego hates repetition. It wants novelty, shortcuts, hacks, and instant transformation. It wants results without the process, but the mind grows through the process, the slow, repetitive refinement of the same basic actions. When you repeat the fundamentals, you eliminate the chaos of inconsistency. You stop starting over. You stop relying on motivation. You stop sabotaging your progress. You stop drifting in and out of random bursts of effort. You create a rhythm, a dependable, grounded rhythm that builds momentum one day at a time. Momentum is not created by intensity. Momentum is created by repetition. And once momentum begins, everything becomes easier. You stop negotiating with yourself. Your habits become automatic. Your discipline becomes instinctive. Your emotional stability strengthens. Your inner world becomes organized. You stop feeling like you're fighting yourself because your actions and identity finally align. Repetition is how you become aligned. The fundamentals also protect you from overwhelming yourself. When you chase complexity, you burn out. When you overthink, you stall. When you try to upgrade everything at once, you do nothing consistently. Repeating the basics prevents mental overload. It keeps you grounded in what truly matters. It simplifies your path. Simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is clarity. Simple, repeated actions create extraordinary results. There will be days when the fundamentals feel boring, days when you don't want to wake up early, days when your focus slips, days when discomfort feels too heavy, days when finishing feels impossible, days when resetting feels pointless, days when calmness seems out of reach, days when your standards feel higher than your energy. These days are not a sign that you're failing. These days are the reason the fundamentals matter. The fundamentals carry you through moments when motivation disappears. They carry you through stress, fatigue, doubt, and pressure. They carry you through the seasons of life when everything feels heavy, when your emotions become unpredictable, when progress slows, when your path feels uncertain. The fundamentals anchor you. The person who repeats the basics on their worst days becomes unstoppable on their best days. Repetition also forces you to confront the truth about your patterns. You cannot hide from yourself when you repeat foundational actions daily. The fundamentals expose your distractions, your excuses, and where you're still negotiating with yourself. They reveal your next level of growth. Over time, repeating the fundamentals becomes a spiritual practice, a way of aligning yourself with discipline, clarity, calmness, and purpose. It becomes a conversation between you and the person you are becoming. Every day you repeat the basics, you cast a vote for your future identity. You've reached the end of this training, but not the end of your transformation. These 10 chapters were never meant to motivate you for a moment. They were meant to reshape the way you live, the way you think, and the way you show up for yourself. You didn't just listen to ideas, you built a foundation, you built clarity, you built discipline, you built strength, and now comes the part that truly matters: what you do next. Knowledge only becomes power when it turns into action. You already know how to master your mornings, protect your focus, embrace discomfort, command your words, finish what you start, reset fast, stay calm under pressure, replace weak habits with strong standards, win in private, and repeat the fundamentals daily. These are not theories, they are tools, tools for life, tools for identity, tools for building a mind that cannot be shaken. Your job now is simple. Live what you learned. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to master everything overnight. You don't need instant transformation. You only need to begin. Begin with one habit, one standard, one decision that aligns with the person you want to become. Transformation is built from moments, not miracles. And every moment you choose strength, you shift your identity one step closer to the version of yourself that's been waiting to emerge. Your life will not rise all at once. Your life will rise gradually, the same way strength rises. One consistent morning, one focused hour, one difficult decision you don't run from, one promise kept, one calm breath under pressure, one fundamental repeated again and again.